1979 is the final year in which Ronald Reagan broadcasts his radio commentaries. It's a year that begins with the establishment of formal diplomatic relations between the United States and China. 2 weeks later, the Shah of Iran leaves his country, ending a 37-year rule. As February begins, Muslim leader Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini returns to power in Iran, and the United States orders the evacuation of all non-essential personnel. The same day, U.S. officials report that the Soviet Union has begun testing a long-range cruise missile. Later that month, Kuwait increases the price of its oil by more than 9%. On February 26th, President Carter asks Congress for the power to order gasoline rationing and other mandatory energy conservation measures. 1 month later, Egyptian President Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Begin sign a formal peace treaty in Washington. At the end of March, America's first major nuclear accident occurs at the 3 Mile Island reactor in Pennsylvania. In early May, 65,000 people march in Washington in an anti-nuclear demonstration. Also in May, George Bush and Senator Robert Dole announced their candidacies for the 1980 Republican presidential nomination. In June, Pope John Paul II goes to Poland, the Iranian government rejects the newly appointed American ambassador, President Carter and Soviet President Brezhnev sign the Second Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, or SALT II, and OPEC raises crude oil prices by 24%. In mid-July, the Sandinista National Liberation Front takes power in Nicaragua, and the U.S. Commerce Department reports that the gross national product declined more than 3% during the second quarter. In August, the Congressional Joint Economic Committee warns that unless productivity increases, the average American is likely to suffer a reduction in living standards. Andrew Young resigns as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. In September, more than 45,000 public school teachers go on strike. The Federal Reserve Board raises loan rates for banks to a record-high 11%. In October, Mother Teresa wins the Nobel Peace Prize, and South Korean President Park Chung-hee is assassinated. On November 4th, the U.S. Embassy is seized in Iran, and 52 Americans are taken hostage. They will not be released until January 20th, 1981, the day Ronald Reagan is inaugurated as President of the United States. The rest of November is dominated by presidential politics. Ted Kennedy and California Governor Jerry Brown announce as Democratic candidates, while Tennessee Senator Howard Baker joins the run for the Republican nomination. On November 13th, Ronald Reagan announces his candidacy. As the year draws to a close, the Soviet Union invades Afghanistan. Ronald Reagan ended his radio commentaries when he announced his candidacy. Reflecting on that moment, here again is Nancy Reagan.
I don't think Ronnie ever hesitated about his decision to run again in 1980. I think he regarded the presidency as simply a thing he ought to do, an opportunity to really act on his vision for America. It really wasn't about power for him. It was about bringing out the qualities he knew are there in this country, the generosity and genius of the people, the wonderful benefits of a free society, the sense of fulfillment that comes with making a real contribution to your family, your community, and your country. He loved that image that he cited in one of his broadcasts of the city on a hill, and America truly was that for him, a bright, shining beacon. He believed in that image and the ideals it invokes. He wrote about it, spoke about it, and when he was president, that's what he saw himself as helping to build. He's a patriot in the truest and best sense of the word. He loves his country and all of its people.
For the last time, I'm cleaning up my desk with a few items you should hear. I'll be right back. Believe me, my friends, I speak to you today with mixed emotions, and maybe it's fitting that I make it the final desk cleaning day. The first item is, in my opinion, very serious for all of us, and another indication of how far we're straying from the very basics of our system. The Mountain States Legal Foundation has filed a suit with the federal government claiming that constitutional rights of several states are being violated. When Congress voted to extend the time for states to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment, it refused to allow several states to change their position and rescind the approval they had given earlier. A few weeks ago, the U.S. Department of Justice, which above all should be the defender of constitutional rights, filed a motion with the Idaho court where the case is being heard. The motion was to disqualify the judge appointed to hear the case. Now hear this. The Justice Department wants him disqualified because of his religion. He is a member of the Mormon Church. I leave it to you to imagine what such a precedent could do to our entire system of justice if judges can be either assigned or disqualified on the basis of religion. These next few items may make you laugh, but you'll hurt a little too. A former California Superintendent of Education, Dr. Max Rafferty, has uncovered a few items having to do with extremes in the battle of the sexes. The Department of Health, Education, and Welfare has discovered that in one public school system, more boys than girls were being spanked. If the school system doesn't want $1 million in federal aid to be withheld, it will henceforth spank girls and boys in exactly equal numbers. In Woonsocket, Rhode Island, the city council has ruled that from now on those metal-covered holes in our streets we've long called manholes will henceforth be known as person holes. And in Missoula, Montana, a peeping Tom ordinance is now a peeping person law. Well, that's all the desk cleaning for today, and as I indicated when I began, it's been my last such chore. This is my final commentary. I'm going to miss these visits with all of you. I've enjoyed every one. Even writing them has been a lot of fun. I've scratched them out on a yellow tablet in airplanes, riding in cars, and at the ranch when the sun went down. Whenever I've told you about some misfortune befalling one of our fellow citizens, you've opened your hearts and your pocketbooks and gone to the rescue. I know you have, because the individuals you helped have written to let me know. You've done a great deal to strengthen my faith in this land of ours and its people. You are the greatest. Sometime later today, if you happen to catch me on television, you'll understand why I can no longer bring you these commentaries. This is Ronald Reagan, and from the bottom of my heart, thanks for listening.